y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have the monthly polish awareness box for the month of April. April will be dedicated to autism awareness, and 10% of all the proceeds from any of the sales will be donated to the Autism Research Institute. I'll go ahead and link all of the makers down below as well as their social media. These are available individually as well as the entire box. I will leave that storefront link down below if you're interested, and go ahead and get into the swatches. So first up is All Over the Spectrum, and this is described as a light gray scattered holographic base with green, pink, purple, blue micro flakies, and small to medium pink, green, purple, red, green, turquoise, and blue holographic glitter. So this is a Crelly base. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how All Over the Spectrum swatched on my natural nail. This is a Crelly, so it's going to take a little bit to build up. This first coat does go on nice and smooth. It's not one of those super thick Crellys, but it did a great job at keeping the larger glitters suspended. Anyways, it is completely full of tiny micro glitters as well as flakies and all of those different glitters. Here is my second coat. This does build that base up a bit and adds a little bit of depth. I can still see some nail line for me, so I'll let this dry and then come back in for a third and final coat. So here is my third coat, and this is going to bring this one completely opaque with no problems at all for me. I did do a bit of a thicker third coat. This one also dries down pretty flushed, maybe just a tiny bit textured. A good top coat will help those top glitters be a little bit more cohesive in the mix though. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with top coat. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle in direct sunlight. I do love everything about this polish, and I think it's a great representation for this box. So next up is Kiss My Asperger's by Sassy Pants Polish. This is described as a very sparkly red jelly with red micro glitters and red to gold micro flakies. So this is a jelly polish. It's another one that you're going to have to build up a little bit. This may have a tiny flash of pink in there as well. So here's a look at that brush shot, and I'll show you how Kiss My Asperger's swatched on my natural nail. So here is my first coat. This one did start out a little bit sheer. You do get a nice amount of those glitters. It's not gritty at all. It's not too thick or too thin. It's nice and easy to use. It is just a little bit sheer. So I'll let that dry and then come back in for a second coat. So here is a quick second coat. I'm going to try to build this one up a little bit quickly, so I am going to go in for a bit of a thicker second coat here. It definitely does add some depth, adds more glitter, and adds a bump up to that pigment in the base. It's not quite opaque though, so I'll let that dry and then come back in for my third and final coat. This third coat is again a little bit thicker. It did bring this one right to the edge of being opaque for me. I could still see a little bit of nail line, but that's kind of par for the course for most jellies. So if that bothers you, you could always use this as a topper. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. This one does dry down super sparkly. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with top coat. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle in direct sunlight. So next up is Something Mysterious from Pretty Beautiful Unlimited. This one is described as a yellow base with pink to purple to blue to gold, ultra chrome flakies, gold hollow shreds, red shimmer, and chameleon glitters in various sizes. That red shimmer is pretty evident in the bottle. It gets lost a little bit on the nail until you add a good top coat. So here's a look at that brush shot, and I'll show you how Something Mysterious swatched on my natural nail. So here is one easy coat. Again, this is a Crelly base. It's a very bright yellow Crelly. It's one that you're going to have to build up a little bit, and it is a little bit on the thicker side, but not terribly so. So this one coat does add for nice even coverage. You do get a good amount of those glitters, but it is definitely sheer. So I'll let that dry and then come back in for a second coat. Second coat brings us right to the edge of being opaque for me. I could still see my nail line. I do have really hard nail lines though, so if you have shorter nails or maybe not so much visible nail lines, you may be able to get away with two. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and show you what a third coat looks like. I definitely do prefer a third coat. It brightens up that base and adds even more of those flakies. This one does dry down slightly textured due to all those larger flakies, but a good top coat of course will help smooth that out and bring out that shimmer. So here's a look at the completed mani before top coat. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with top coat. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting. And then once more at an angle in that direct sunlight. So next up is Loving Patience from Night Owl Lacquer. This is described as a seafoam green with bright turquoise shimmer, crystal rainbow shifting flakies, and some scattered holographic. That scattered holographic is really subtle and it really pops in that direct sunlight. I'll show you at the end. Really quickly, I'll show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Loving Patience swatched on my natural nail. So here is one easy coat. This polish is really easy to use. It is very delicate and very sheer though. So I'll let this first coat dry and then come back in with a second coat. I even thought that this might be able to be used as a topper, but I put it over one coat of black and it was just a little bit thick for me to make a nice even topper. So here is the second coat. It does brighten up that seafoam base and adds more of those glitters. I'm loving the flakies in here. It's just so delicate and feminine and really pretty. This is not quite opaque for me at 2 coats, so I'll let that dry and then come back in for a nice thick third coat. And this third coat does bring this one completely opaque for me. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. This one just dries down ever so slightly textured due to those flakies. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with top coat, and you can see what I mean there about that micro hollow. It's just so pretty. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle in direct sunlight. So next up is Love Needs No Words from Lifestyle Lacquer by Nail Jewelry Bling. This is described as a duochrome that shifts between shades of blue and violet with a hint of scattered hollow pigment. This one is gorgeous and super shifty on the nail. I think the blue was predominantly the main color for me, but the purple shift does come out really easily. You can see a little bit of gold around the edges there as well. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Love Needs No Words swatched on my natural nail. This formula is super amazing. It goes on really opaque, not completely opaque. I am going to have to come in for a second coat, but I found that the more I worked it, the more opaque it got. It did leave a little bit of brush strokes, so you may want to be mindful of that. I'll go ahead and let that dry and then show you what a second coat looks like. So here is my quick second coat. This is not too thick or too thin. It's just my perfect preference of being just a little bit on the thick side, really easy to use, and absolutely no pooling. So this second coat for sure brings this one completely opaque. Again, I did have to be mindful to make long downward strokes. Here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. You can see that that scatter holographic dances just around the edges. Super, super pretty. So here's a look from another angle in direct sunlight as well as shade. You'll see I kind of shifted here to the shade, and you get a lot of that purple shift and then back into the sunlight, and all of that holographic pops out. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle in direct sunlight. So lastly today I have Close to Home from My Indie Polish. This is described as a purple cream with a pink to violet shimmer as well as super subtle hidden holographic. You can see that hollow is not super subtle. It does pop a little bit underneath my artificial lighting, and it does have that beautiful lit from within type shimmer. Here's a quick brush shot, and I'll show you how Close to Home swatched on my natural nail. So here is one easy coat. This polish did pull a tiny bit around the edges, not all the way into my cuticle though, so I do recommend going in for nice thin coats. One coat is pretty sheer. This almost reminds me of a Crelly type formula, so if you know what I mean by that, it is going to have to build up a tiny bit. 2 coats does build up all of that shimmer as well as that hollow, deepens up that purple base, but it's just still shy of being opaque for me. So I'll let that dry and then come back in for my third and final coat. So here is my third coat. I am going to go in for a nice thick third coat just to finish this off, and it does bring this one completely opaque for me. The finish is absolutely worth all 3 coats, and I really prefer it this way. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. This one does dry down super glossy. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with top coat. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle in direct sunlight. So that does wrap up my swatch and review for the April monthly polish awareness box. This is available right now all the way through April 9th. Again, I'll link that storefront down below for you, as well as the maker's social medias. I really recommend joining up on the Facebook group. You do get sneak peeks and then all of the swatches from all of the bloggers who are doing this box. I was sent this box with a blogger's discount, so I did purchase it, but for a reduced price. If you'd like to see more photos, I do have those available on my blog at sloppyswatches.wordpress.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.